Assalamu alaikum. This is Zakir Hussain, uh, rule number 2018 ME194. I'm here to give a presentation on plasma arc cutting. So let's start the presentation. So the objective of the presentation is to describe plasma and describe the plasma torch, explain how plasma cutting torch work, plasma arc cutting tool, machine parts and their functionality, list the advantages and disadvantages of using plasma cutting torch, demonstrate the ability to set up and use the plasma cutting torch. It also describes the latest technology and the latest invention in this field. So first of all, the introduction. So the plasma process start in the mid of 1950s. In the early experiments, it was found that restricting the arc in the fast flowing column of argon form of plasma, the plasma was hard enough to melt any metal. Introduced as a cutting process, invention of gas lens allowed plasma to be used for welding. So this was the short introduction. So let's discuss the meaning of plasma. So first of all, it means the fluid portion of blood, which is of course not of our business. The second is the state of matter found in region of an electric discharge, which is called the arc. Plasma created by an arc of ionized gases has both electron and positive ions. It has a very high temperature. It is about 43,000 degrees Celsius. So plasma is something which has very high temperature. So let's discuss the arc plasma. Arc plasma is a gas that has heated to at least a partially, it is partially arc in ionized condition. Plasma used in welding and cutting processes. We also use the same process, produce high temperature intense light in order to cut associated cutting processes. Next is the plasma torch. So it has following characteristics. It creates and controls the plasma for welding or cutting. It's the torch body is made of special plastic because it must be something which can bear the high temperature of plasma. So torch head is where cable and hoses. We will discuss in the next slides what is cables and hoses attached to electrode. We also discuss that nozzles and nozzles. Power switch is a thumb switch located on the torch bar. You can see on the diagram. And now let's discuss the electrode tip, nozzle insulated, nozzle tip. These are all part of plasma cutting arc. So let's discuss all of these one by one. So this is a diagram of a torch part. We call it the plasma cutting tool. It has various part which has been described by numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So first number is the shielding cup. You can see in the diagram the tip. And then the third is the electrode, the torch body, handle, switch, the switch sheet, torch headboard, and the trigger. You can see on the picture, these are all the components. We will discuss one by one and we will discuss their working and their functionality. So first of all, electrode tip. So what is electrode tip? It is actually made of copper with embedded tungsten tip, which conduct the heat very faster. So keeping tip as cool as possible, we can increase the length of its life. So earlier touch it required welder to accurately grind tungsten electrode. Now let's discuss the second. That is nozzle insulator. We know that insulator is something which can present between two electrically conductive materials. So it is present between the electrode tip and the nozzle tip. It provides a critical gap spacing and electrode separation of its parts in order to disconnect the electrical connection. So the second is the electrode setback. It gives spacing between the electrode tip and nozzle tip. It is critical to proper operation of the system. The next is the nozzle tip. It has a small cone shape constructing an orifice in the center, which construct the plasmic arc to come out and cut the metal. It is formed between electrode tip and nozzle tip. Maybe call it electrode seat bed. So the factors which are involved in the operation are diameter of constructing orifice, which is very important, and electrode seat bed. It is these two factors can be very according to the strength of material or according to the type of material. We can change these. These are all of these are replaceable. We can replace according to the material. So the second thing is the nozzle and water store. We call sometimes the nozzle is also called a cup. It is made of high temperature resistant substance because plasma has to come out from this nozzle, so it has a capacity to bear that temperature. The plasma has a very high temperature, so it prevents internal electrical parts from shorting. Sometimes due to very high temperature of plasma, there is risk of electrical shorting inside the electrical structure. So it prevents the nozzle prevents the electrical shorting. So what is also short in order to cool the material, because due to high temperature the fumes, noises, and other pollutants are produced. So in order to control those things, we can short the nozzle. Again, both of the design are replaceable. So the second is the power and gas cable. It is usually covered. It provides some protection to the cables and hoses which are present inside. It makes handling the cable easier. It covering the heat resistant. There is a drawback of this power cable, that is, it will not prevent the damage to cables and hoses inside. If it come in contact with any hot material, it exposed directly to cutting sparks because they have a very high temperature, so it cannot prevent those things. Now this is the diagram for typical natural plasma card cutting. You can see the power supply, the gas supply, and the working material, the cables. So it has a complete electrical loop. We can we can make a electrode to the working part and then give positive charge to the power supply. In this way we can complete the electrical circuit, and this is how it works. So let's discuss the power cable you have seen in the diagram. So it must be of high voltage rated insulation. Again, it is due to the high temperature. It must be of high voltage. Insulation is made of finely stranded copper wire. Copper is a very fine is a fine we can it's a very fine to insulate that. So it equipment as equipment capacity increases, cable must be larger. Larger cable means they are less flexible. Water cooled torches cable in run inside the water return line. So the next is gas hoses. Now, what is gas hoses? Two gas hoses run to the torch, the plasmic torch. One carries a gas which produces plasma, and the other provides a shielding gas for coverage. It is very important to have shielding gas. Sometimes, like in small amperature, it is not present. Shielding gas is very important. Otherwise, it will distort the structure after it gets cut, during it's getting cut, because due to high temperature it cannot provide efficient, just like that we have in laser cutting. So due to shielding, it prevents the other materials to get heat up and control the flow. So gas line is made of specially heat resistant ultraviolet. It is resistant to ultraviolet light and plastic. Be sure to replace the tubing with tubing provided by manufacturer or valley supplier. So the control wire, two conductor low voltage standard copper wire. It connects power switch to the power supply, allows vendor to start and stop the plasmic power and gas. Essentially, it's a simple thing. So the power requirements. Power requires in plasma or cutting, we need a DC source, high voltage, constant supply of current, because we need to do the activity constantly. You know, the if we discuss what is plasma, then it is uniform potential differences. So we need to provide it continuously. Plasma process uses some same amount of voltage as similar to as non-plasmic process. So the compressed air, in order to produce plasma, it has numerous characteristics like it's used by small shop or cutting torch, must be clean and dry, use filter to prevent contaminants. It's very important to consider this factor. If you don't consider this factor, it will result in distortion, and maybe sometime it provide electrical short within the DC source, which totally heat up the setup. So the heat input, very high temperature allow high traveling rates. Same amount of heat is spread over large areas. Lower joule per inch of heat the wind will receive. It must have high torque speed, result in a lower heat input in these processes. So the distortion, when we apply the metal heat in a localized region, it expand that area, and when it cool down, it distort the whole area. So there's a solution for this problem, that is oxy-fuel. By using oxy-fuel during cutting, we can reduce the heat affected zone. It will lower the heat affected zone, and prevents the distortion. So this is the picture of heat zone. By using it is for the first is Fleming cut and the other is plasma cut. You can see the difference between these diagrams. So there are various applications of plasma cutting. First, in early centuries, early the it helium and argon gas were used to apply used to produce a plasma card cutting system. Nitrogen is used to uh, lower the cost of the whole system. But in today's world, we can use the less expensive gases and dry compressed air, which have following characters we have discussed before this slide. So in 1988, it was conveniently used for mild steel, and it become very inexpensive, and we can use on commercial. So there is another thing which we need to, you know, critically think, that is the cutting speed. High cutting speeds are possible. It has, 25 feet per minute. The cutting speed of plasma plasma arc cutting is 20 feet per minute. You can also say 0.25 mile per hour. So in new machine, in latest technology, it operate upper limits of plasmic torch capacity to automatically maintain optimum torch standoff station. Some system will flow irregular surface of perform part lengths. Now, any metals, like if we discuss where it is applicable, then the advantages in it is coming. It comes in advantages that by the the plasmic arc cutting is used for any material which is conductive. So it is very popular among carbon steel, stainless steel. It's on you can also use for aluminum setups. Other materials are also can cut like copper, nickel, high strength low alloys, and flat materials, which are completely reliable. So in gases, almost any gas, for compressed air gas, we can use any gas. Mixture can be used. It affecting of by changing the gas, there are following factors which may vary according to the gas. Well, we need to select the gate according to the strength of material or strength of the type of material we are using and we are cutting. So there are factors like force, central concentration, heat content, craft weight, draws formation. We need to answer these factors when we are selecting the gas. So the machine cutting. Almost any plasma torch can be attached to a semi-automatic or automatic device. Simplest devices just like oxy-fuel, portable flames, cutting machines on track, good for most straight or circular cuts. When we are cutting the materials, it also, there is a remedy, maybe we call it the disadvantage, that it is not fine, just like it is, we don't get a fine surface just like we have in laser cutting. But that never means that it is not better than laser, but it can't provide fine surfaces. So high power machines must be used with some semi-automatic or automatic system. Hazards make unsafe for mutual operation. We have already discussed it. So the water tables, we are in now it is available on commercial basis. If we are purchasing a plasmic arc cutting, we can also get a water table. So machine cutting lead lend itself to the use of water cutting tables. Can be used with most hand torches. There are following advantages of using water table that are: you reduce the noise level, reduce the noise level, control the plasmic lights. Uh, plasmic light has a very high temperature, so it may causes the lubricants to boil up, which is usually don't happen in daily life, but due to high temperature of plasma, the lubricants which are found in our homes may get blown up, so it prevents them. Trap sparks, spark it control the sparks, eliminate most of the fume, has reduced the distortion. Very very good advantages of using the water tables. So the manual cutting. Now let's discuss the. It is the more versatile plasma arc cutting process. It's used in all position, used in almost any surface. Use on, but usually we use on metal just because they are very conductive. So we find a efficient result in that. It is limited to low power plasmic machine. Now let's if we discuss the setup, that is where all of required personal protection equipment, follow all of manufacturer safety rules. So there are following safety concern at the end of the presentation. That is, uh, plasmic art cutting has many safety concerns. First of all, it is electrically shock. We need to be very careful while using this process. We need to be careful of moisture. We need to be careful of why it creates a lot of noises. Light, can blink our eyes and may become dangerous for eyes. It produces fumes. We need to be very careful regarding it. It produces gases. The sparks maybe ignite the surrounding materials, and in we need the operator have to be very careful regarding all of these things. These are the safety precautions we need to measure during this process. So it is there are two types of cutting. So first is the straight cutting. The second is the uh, irregular cutting. We need due to by using shading, yes, we can convert the irregular surface to fine surface, but it is not fine. I am repeating that thing. It is not fine as the fine as we get from laser, because in plasmic torch machine we continuously supply the heat, so it is not possible to have a very clean and clear surface in plasmic cutting due to continuous supply of heat. So in summary, in conclusion, let's discuss the thing quickly. So in plasmic arc cutting, quickly becoming one of the most popularly used cutting process. There are many reasons for becoming too famous in a very short period of time, because it has very low cost, and it is we have discussed all the thing in very difficult way, but it is very easy to operate, and everyone can operate if we take the safety precaution. That is why it is easier to operate, and it is low. It has a low cost. That is why it become very popular, used by almost every segment of industry. You can use in everywhere. High rate of cutting speed. In plasmic art cutting, we don't need to consider the width of the material. So by using these processes, we can there are a lot of problems get solved, which cannot be done through laser cutting. So there are few things which are challenging. One of the biggest challenge for beginning students is you know in order to control a high rate of speed, it is very challenging for the beginning students. Developing an eye and ear for sight and sounds will act in skill development. So that's all from my side, and thank you for my presentation. Allah Hafiz.